Was Dr. Boom really that good? Many think they remember him as being the most powerful card in the game. If we had Blizzard's internal card stats, this video could be like a minute long. But since we don't, we're going to talk about 4 crucial points that together will determine how good Dr. Boom actually was. For our first point, we're going to go all the way back to Dr. Boom's time in Standard. On December 8, 2014, Dr. Boom was released with the Goblins vs. Gnomes set, and players got to work excitedly testing out all the brand new cards.
Perfecting imperfection, goblins and gnomes. Unleash goblin fury.
Within any new expansion's early day fun, there's always cards being played that don't end up being a part of decks for long. And the perfect example of that for the Goblins vs. Gnomes set was Trogzor. This card was predicted to be very strong, even guessed to be one of the main strengths of the GVG expansion by some. I went looking for release day clips and footage featuring Dr. Boom and couldn't find anyone talking about him, let alone playing. I did see a lot of Trogzor though.
Suffice it to say, Trogzor!
Trump's bad card reviews are often shown, so me showing just that much may lead you to think he went on to overly praise Trogzor. So to be fair to him, I should mention he provided a nuanced take that wasn't really that far off, saying that if there was ever a situation where the opponent didn't have enough minion power to deal with Trogzor, it would be quite good, but otherwise if you were behind and they do have minions, it would be quite bad. The only thing he and others got wrong was to think that the card had a situation in which it could shine at all, when in reality, Hearthstone was now more powerful than it was in Classic, as there were now more powerful cards, and as a result, cards that had situations where they are completely unplayable are too untrustworthy, or simply put, bad, to include in your deck if your goal is building the most competitive deck. He did touch on something extremely important though, which had major implications for Dr. Boom. It was that the 7 mana cost slot for cards had little to no competition.
Oh, it's also worth mentioning that the 7 slot is really open right now. So having the card cost 7 mana in particular is good for control decks and is a reason to play Trogzor the Earthinator, because the 6 slot is so full with Cairn Sylvanas, Black Knight. So that it costs 7 is so good because there's no cards competing for it. That makes it so much more likely that it's going to be run.
I don't know that people still talk about mana cost slots anymore. Do people even still use the word slot in that way today? Let me know if you want. Whether they do or not doesn't really matter. I'm just kind of curious. Because a card like Trogzor was hyped up for that slot, everyone started including him in their decks right at launch. On the flip side, in pre-expansion predictions for Dr. Boom, people were mostly saying, you know, something along the lines of neat card or cool Marvel reference.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But this guy looks like Dr. Doom, so this is like a pretty cool Marvel card. I like that.
Crit basically summed it all up in that clip, but basically what he's talking about is that Dr. Boom is a reference to the Marvel supervillain Dr. Doom, best known for battling the Fantastic Four, and the Boombots are references to the Doombots created by Dr. Doom, which are exact replicas of Dr. Doom, complete with extremely advanced artificial intelligence. Dr. Boom's flavor text is also a subtle reference to Marvel. The wiki for Hearthstone actually does say that while the Dr. Doom link is established, it is possible that the form of the Boombots are a reference to the 1999 game Boombots by the Neverhood Incorporated. So maybe it's just a reference to Dr. Doom and then the Boombots are just also a reference to this instead, but I digress. Anyways, back to it. The reason Trump was mentioning the 7 card cost slot in a deck was because there was a much higher focus on a deck's curve back then. A deck's curve refers to the graph shown above a deck in the collection manager, but specifically how that played out in a game. It was less about the deck's curve and more about being able to play minions on curve. The idea was that you wanted to include a certain amount of each mana cost card so that you had the highest chance possible to be able to play a card you were happy with every turn. You wanted lots of good 1 and 2 cost cards disproportionately to later costs because you had less time in a game to be able to draw those cards to be able to play them on curve. So you needed more of them to increase that chance, and then you you slowly included less of each cost as the cards get more expensive. Playing a card on curve refers to playing a card on the turn where it uses all of your mana. So you have 1 mana, you play a 1-cost card, 2 mana, a 2-cost card, usually minions in these situations, and then so on, counting up the mana cost. That is playing on curve, and it is generally a very strong way to play the game, especially back then. This was basically what aggro and mid-range decks were. Aggro just tended to focus even more on the lower cost curve, whereas mid-range was willing to have some games that didn't draw a 1 or a 2-cost card in time so that they could have the ability for card slots to be included and used for more expensive and powerful cards later. This is oversimplified, but that's a lot of what Hearthstone was back in the day, and don't think I'm talking bad about it either. It was very fun. With this in mind, when Trogzor didn't pan out, it left the door wide open for Dr. Boom to fill that slot in the deck. We've now seen GVG get released, and the initial hype for Trogzor run out. This means it's time for players to try out Dr. Boom, which brings us to our second point, where we will talk about card competition. Simply put, in this section, we're going to continue what we're doing and look at what other cards Dr. Boom had to compete with to see if it was actually the best card or if it was just played a lot because nothing else existed. You see, one of the reasons a bad card could see play is scarcity. Take something like Cursed Blade, which came out less than a year later than Dr. Boom, sharing time in standard. This weapon was played unironically in a top-tier Pirate Warrior deck. This being the case when it was also a frequent comment left on my most recent video where we discussed the worst card for every rarity seems strange, but it's actually very explainable. Cursed Blade does stink. Its text is very bad, but Pirate Warrior really wanted a 1-mana weapon for all the pirates that synergized with it, such as Souse the Captain or later on Bloodsail Cultist. So what were the weapon options? Well, you could just straight up cast Upgrade on its own, but that's a bit depressing. Otherwise, your standalone weapon options were Cursed Blade, until N'Zoth's first mate came to save the day, and the later Whispers of the Old Gods expansion. That's it. So they ran it, and they hoped they could utilize it properly and positively without taking 1,000 damage from its obviously bad effect. I bring this up because it's also important to think about what options players had for Dr. Boom. To figure out how good Dr. Boom was, we need to see if he was run because they had no other option, or if it was actually better than other good options. Here we are on the Hearthstone client. Hi, I'm in the bottom right. Go to 7+ mana cost, turn on crafting so we see every card, and you see the options that players had back in the day. Baron Geddon used to be at 7/5 without the elemental keyword, but that was one of the better 7 drops back in the day. It saw play and control, but like you couldn't just throw it into every aggro deck and every deck generally because you had dealing damage to your own board. Baron Stable Hand, 7 mana 5/5 summon random beast. This card just didn't exist. And then you have Corehound. This was a card you could have played. Compare this to Dr. Boom, and it's not even close though. Gazan Auctioneer did not cost 7 back in the day. Then you have Raven Holt Assassin. This and Corehound are kind of the big two that you had as options in Classic for the 7 mana slot. And this is just Corehound with 2 less attack but stealth. That's like, I think, significantly better than Corehound because Corehound just like dies to a single kill command or like literally anything. Whereas this, it's a little bit harder because it has stealth. So like you can maybe send 7 damage somewhere. Stormware Champion has been buffed. Was not like this back in the day either. War Golem obviously is just Dr. Boom put in worse, like clearly worse. And that's literally the entire 7 mana slot for neutral. Obviously you go by class cards. Warrior didn't have anything. These 2 cards did not exist back in Classic. Prophet Velen you had, but it's like a very specific spell damage type card. And you had Guardian of Kings, which also wasn't this good. It had 6 health instead of 7, but Paladin could play that. Antonidas, probably the best 7 cost card in Classic. Nothing in Hunter. Druid is the one class that did have good 7 drops, and that was Ancient of War, usually making it a 7 mana 5/10 with Taunt. And then you had Ancient of Lore, which at the time was only a 5/5 and was not quite this good, obviously. But you'd still play that card because drawing 2 cards and getting a 7 mana 5/5 was pretty solid. And then these 2 classes didn't exist. So like in Legacy, literally nothing existed for Dr. Boom to compete against. And you go to Naxxramas, and all you get is Kel'Thuzad. Again, I have crafting turned on, so you can see every card, even if I don't own them. And then we get to Goblins versus Gnomes. And as we can see, only so many classes even have 7+ cost cards at all. Malorn. Hey, maybe Malorn's the 7 drop we were waiting for. But again, class cards, it's like usually are more situated to a certain thing. And this Malorn we're looking at here is nothing like the old Malorn. But we don't need to get into that. Guzrilda, not, I mean, yeah, it's there. Flame Leviathan, kill your own board. Also different than that one is now. A lot of these cards have been changed because they were all terrible. Neptulon was a shaman only card. And then you get to the common cards. And so going going into the expansion, Sneeds, if Sneeds was like this at the time, it probably would have been the card that we were talking about in this video instead of Dr. Boom, but this was an 8-mana card back in the day, so we have to dismiss that one, and then you're left with Dr. Boom and Chogzor. That's it. You have nothing there outside of maybe a couple fringe class cards and certain strategies, and so you're looking for a 7-mana card. You don't have your Sylvanas, you don't have your Cairn and stuff of the 6-mana slot. You need a 7-mana card. You have Dr. Boom and you have Chogzor. Everybody thought Chogzor was going to be the nuts, so that's where they all kind of went first, but when that realized to be just as bad as all the other 7-mana options, they tried out Dr. Boom, and then they realized that this little pesky boom bot here, Death Rattle, deal 1 to 4 damage to a random enemy, was really, really good. So yeah, Dr. Boom and Chogzor to the pile of nothingness. Dr. Boom comes out on top in that matchup. Not really any competition. If we look at the next set, Black Rock Mountain, you know, Dr. Boom's still viable, nothing. Grand Tournament, 5/9 with no text. It's like inverse Corehound. Why? Shilmaw was okay in Dragon decks, like control decks, but it's not like just a generally good card in like aggro mid-range. This guy Captain Crag was fine in Pirate decks. It's fun fact, one of the very few cards with a keyword that's like altered for flavor reasons. Big fan of the charge. And that's it. That's the 7-mana slot. Just textless minions. Like it's laughably bad. This card was changed. League of Explorers, nothing. So this is now like 3 sets later. Two adventures, 1 set. Here's another set. Old Gods. This is a big deal. Look at the options. Taunt. I mean, Ball Creeper slapped. I mean, I guess. It was like an arena card. But New Hogger, like, okay. So as you can see, like 7-mana 5 for Windfury is terrible. Like it just dies. To the same cards that like Corehound died to. And it's coming out like significant amount of time later when there were more powerful cards to deal with it. So Dr. Boom was really just has nothing going on with it at all. So I guess in terms of card competition, there wasn't any. It's safe to say that it wasn't beating out any solid competition, but that doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't great. It's possible to have several bad cards and only one great card, and the great card's greatness isn't lessened by the competition. So we must continue on to stage 3 to see if the card was actually great on its own, or if it was just well situated because of a specific meta. When researching this meta, one of the things I've noticed is every clip of Dr. Boom seems to be around the boombots. I suppose from a Lucky Highlights and Moments compilation, that makes sense. But in like none of the old clips is the 7/7 body you get from Dr. Boom even being used. It's just the boombots high rolling and the game ending. And I actually think that this is key to understanding how good Dr. Boom actually was. The modern day player may think 1 to 4 damage being dealt to a random target as being very weak, and they are probably right. Certainly comparatively to back then. As we've previously discussed, a lot of Hearthstone was playing your best card, or maybe 2 best cards each turn, and then deciding what attacks to make, working to get an edge on the board and in the game, turn after turn, incrementally, to eventually reduce the opponent's life to 0. These games weren't marathons or anything. We know from stats that Hearthstone games have been roughly 7.5 turns on average for the eternity of Hearthstone, but there was generally less cards being played in turns back then. As a result, if you spent your entire 5-mana turn playing an Azure Drake, for example, and a random boombot summoned alongside your opponent's Dr. Boom were to kill it outright, you would feel that swing and that tempo advantage so heavily. It was such a significant portion of your actions and mana that game. It'll be very hard to come back from, and that's not even to mention the 7/7 that they still also have on the board at minimum. Something capable of dealing nearly a fourth of your life with one swing. The boombots hitting the right target for the right amount had the ability to make swings in the game to a power level that just wasn't possible in any other way back in that time, at least from a neutral standpoint. It did require the right luck, but when the right luck is an add-on to a war golem, you take that, especially when you have nothing else going on in that range of mana. Another way to think of this is that we know from other boombot cards that came out over time that the power level of those boombots decreased over time. Not because the boombots themselves changed, but everything else has. It is much less impactful these days to have the boombot hit and kill a specific minion than it was back then. And it also feels much less bad to take 4 damage to your hero these days because the healing and armor gain cards have only gotten better post Dr. Boom. During Dr. Boom's time, that damage, whether to a minion or to a hero, was really significant. During a time of Curvestone, Dr. Boom excelled as a way to efficiently deal with Azure Drakes with a single boombot, or particularly kill a minion and finish it off with the second one. It was such a powerful swing for the speed of play and power level at the time. But to truly know if Dr. Boom can just be chalked up as being a meta play, we need to look at every meta he was in until he rotated. Usually cards that are just good in certain metas end up being cut from decks as the meta changes and new sets come out. Even back then, Dr. Boom, however, took each incoming set or adventure in stride and continued to punch high as his loyal boombot companions took out out the shins. Up until he rotated, Dr. Boom was still a staple in plenty of decks and was especially king of the 7-mana slot. That slot didn't receive any other impactful cards until Knights of the Frozen Throne when came Bone Mare. But at that point, Dr. Boom was gone, having rotated the year prior. Dr. Boom was so dominant that he received the nickname from the community, Dr. 7.
You get the first answer on this question. Let's see it. Name a popular community nickname for a Hearthstone card. And let's start with Orange.
Dr. 7.
Dr. 7 on the board. Well done.
Damn, you're good.
Well, they took the most obvious answer.
So far, Dr. Boom seems pretty good. He wasn't predicted to be good, he never ran into any competition, yet every meta in his time prominently featured him. I do wonder though, if the RNG swings of the Boombots made people like or dislike him irrationally, and if they view his power level differently than what is accurate as a result. You know, because like, there are people today that, again, they think this was the most powerful card in the game back in the day when it was in standard, but they were cards that were nerfed during this period, and Dr. Boom never was. To wrap this up with a nice little bow, let's see if our findings match community sentiment, but also let's see if community sentiment from back then matches the sentiment he carries today. Did people feel like he was the best card and super broken and bonkers then? Or have they exaggerated that, maybe unconsciously, maybe not intentionally, as time has gone on, and we've gotten further and further removed from those days? If you encounter players talking about Dr. Boom today, you'll see comments such as, "I remember when this was the best card in the game by a mile." On a post talking about Dr. Boom balanced for 2023, did Dr. Boom ever fill your board with Boombots? No. I was having a conversation with some friends and they're insisting that GVG Dr. Boom has always just summoned 2 Boombots. I am absolutely certain he used to fill your board with them. Is this true? No. I know that I'm 100% factually wrong about all of this. I've been looking all day for anything I might have seen that might have made me think this and can't find anything. Okay, this guy's a classic case study in misremembering something years later. Imagine Dr. Boom seeing turn 7 nowadays. A 7-mana Dr. Boom just is not relevant in the slightest. It's a laughable card. Obviously this person's dead, but it's like, it's a completely swingable, winnable game from both sides. Like, but the turn 7s look nothing like they used to. So interesting. But it's on this person's mind to think that Dr. Boom used to be so insane, especially in Arena, how things have changed. Let's see, do we have any other comments here about Dr. Boom? Dr. Boom would be 4 mana these days. 4 mana for 7/7? Preposterous. We clearly needed Overload 2 to balance it out. Yeah, it is funny that a 4 mana 7/7 existed 7 years ago. Like, it's interesting to see people's opinions on Dr. Boom, because some people think it was the best card to ever exist. Some people think it was just good. And then you have a total range of that now where it's like, would it be playable at all? At what mana cost? People today realize he's unbelievably useless. But what's interesting is that was also true like 7 years ago. He was falling off even before he rotated. He would have rotated power level wise naturally, even if Wild wasn't created. It's pretty crazy to think about if you're someone who only ever played back during Dr. Boom's time. Speaking of back in his time, let's see some posts I found from that time frame. 10 years ago, what's so good about Dr. Boom? I am still a beginner at this game, so I don't know much. People say Dr. Boom is like one of the best cards, and I see a lot of decks run it. Is it good because of the 2 bombs it produces? A 7/7 with 2 bombs is basically 9/9. Even if a BGH kills it, the bombs get revenge. Also, the random bomb damage and overall combined together can go 8+2+7, so like if all 4 from 2 death rattles plus 7 goes face, you'd get 17 max damage, sure. Yeah, too good, just too good. Yes, the RNG is too good if you get the right rolls. Fair enough. That's really the key. The Boombots are valued by Blizzard at 0 for both of them, but if they were 1-drops, they'd probably run in many aggro decks. I also think that's true. I could see Face Hunter and like all sorts of decks back then. Zulok just chucking in 2 bombs, honestly. I really could. It's one of the best cards, if not the best. So people thought it was good back then. Well, most people did. Dr. Boom is not OP. Seriously. Dr. Boom's biggest strength is not that he is a strong card, but that he is the only 7-drop worth playing. Yeah, I mean, that does seem like a problem. Baron Geddon and Trogzor are limited and only also really fit control decks, whereas Dr. Boom is versatile and can be used in many ways. But the Boombots make him strong, the RNG involved in those, meaning that it could be amazing, but it could be a worthless outcome. So playing him is a risk. This part's interesting. He thinks playing Dr. Boom is a risk because BGH is really popular, but BGH was really popular because Dr. Boom was popular. So like, part of me thinks that like, and this is completely a conspiracy theory, part of me thinks that Dr. Boom never got nerfed because it was a good way to teach players back then. They're all new players because the game is basically brand new. It was a way to teach new players that like, hey, when there's something that dominates the game in a wide range, include cards like BGH to deal with it instead of just kind of throwing your head at the wall over and over again, playing whatever you're playing and trying to figure out a way to beat it. Like, change your deck out. And like, that's kind of a core part of deck building for ladder. And so I part of me, like, conspiracy theory brain, thinks they didn't nerf Dr. Boom, one, because it was so fun and cool, but also because BGH being an answer to it was like a really nice way of kind of teaching that element of Hearthstone when it was very new and early. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Dr. Boom is not a strong card. I just think it was the right decision not to nerf him. Interesting. Dr. Boom isn't necessarily overpowered, but the only strong neutral 7-drop, which gave it play in nearly every deck, therefore either requires other contending 7-drops to dilute it or a small nerf. Yeah, so like a lot of people are saying that even when he was really, really good, it was because there was nothing else going on. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean the card wasn't good. It just means that there was nothing else good. So the card that was good got an overly played number of play rate, a higher number of play rate than maybe it deserved because there was literally nothing else to do. A couple people talking about how like you couldn't kill Dr. Boom with a BGH or a Siphon Soul or something because there's no true counter to it because the boom bots always stuck around, which is fair. I guess you'd have like a card like Twisting Nether or something that could do all of it, but then the Death Rattle still goes off, so you're still getting at least some value. That's one of the things that's like important about him too, is that there are a lot of cards back in the day, like a Yeti, right? Like it's just stats. You just play a card, even Karen, which was more than a Yeti. It's like 2 Yetis. If your opponent just kills those, you get nothing. Whereas with Dr. Boom, you always get at least a little something, which back then was kind of nuts. Here's a post from in the middle, right around when he rotated, showing Dr. Boom against what was the Wild meta 7 years ago. So like right a little bit after he rotated. Why don't people in Wild play Dr. Boom anymore? And it shows kind of like the tier 7 meme, just an unplayable card in the now more powerful cube lock type economy, which is fascinating. He's still a good card, but no longer the best card. So this person also thought he was the best card. So in conclusion, how good was Dr. Boom? Dr. Boom was incredibly powerful for its time. I don't think it was quite the best though, in terms of like a single individual card. It may have been the best like neutral card, but there were cards that were nerfed, there were decks that were nerfed in his time frame, and he wasn't. He was still incredibly good, no doubt, and he should very clearly be remembered as one of the GOATs of the early game. Whether or not he was the most broken card in the game or not can be left up to you guys in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.